It's pretty fun to be here. I just want to thank everyone at Tree for inviting me, Margaret, Deanna, Colin, and Mary Lee. I've really been looking forward to reading at Tree. I've done the open mic, and I want to thank all the amazing readers at the open mic tonight, especially Francis. Thank you so much. You make my words sound good, so hopefully I can do some justice to my own work after that. As Deanna pointed out, there's free soap at the book table. So please take that if you haven't yet. And there are also some broadsides from Above Ground Press that are free as well. So if you can't buy the book or you don't feel like it, you can still take away a little something. I'm gonna read mostly poems tonight about, there are two threads running through the book. And I'm always sort of trying to figure out how best to deal with those in readings. And one of the threads, which has to do with the soap that's available, is a chapbook that came out with Above Ground in 2013, which was called The Art of Plumbing, is that I sort of, throughout the book, bookend and in the middle, bring up the history of plumbing. And plumbing and bathing in particular become quite, I guess I'm quite obsessed with them as metaphors for dealing with death and mourning. And one quick story I'll tell you about soap is that there is a poem in the book that I'm not going to read tonight called Mount Sapo. And that the reason that the soap is a particularly appropriate promotional item is that the title of that poem takes its title from a fake history of soap, which is that there is a mountain called Mount Sapo in Rome. And the story goes that in ancient times, women would be doing their laundry at the base of this mountain, and they found that their clothes were getting so clean. And it turned out from the fable that the sacrificial ash and fat from the goats and animals being burned at the top of the mountain were mixing in this very particular way with a clay in the riverbed at the bottom of the mountain. And so it was making this kind of prehistoric precursor to soap. And when the women would like rub their clothes against the clay, they would get, oh, so white. I picture that as like the very first Tide commercial or something. So the reason that this kind of domestic metaphor has became so important to me as I was writing the book is that the other thread through the book is my mother. And I want to read tonight a few poems that sort of take the family as the core. And so the first poem I'm going to read is called Sandy. There are a few poems in this book that have people's names as the title. My mother's name was Sandy, and I recently had participated in an event with David O'Meara, and Rob McLennan had asked David O'Meara and Amanda and myself to do read some essays for a VerseFest fundraiser. And so all three of us read, and I had to kind of grapple with, I guess, something that I've been trying to articulate for a while, which was my personal relationship with confession. So I discussed the fact that my mother contracted frontotemporal dementia when she was 40, and I was 18. And the way I kind of dealt with that over the course of writing about it in my work. So this poem is called Sandy. Her bedgown brides her. She's dumb as a broom. Her quiets swim inside her. Daddy can't shut-eye her boggled doll peekaboo. Her bedgown brides her. We can't identify her as Sandy per se. She's make-do. Her quiets swim inside her, ghouls queue to ride her, oozing like a fistula. Her bedgown brides her. Mother's meets in a wilder chaos, but she got her due. Her quiets swim inside her. I'll smother her if I find her inside me. Monkey see? I do. Her bedgown brides her toward quiet. I swim inside her. Sorry, I just have to keep track of my time here. I'm already babbling. Sorry about that. I've been lucky enough since the book came out. I was excited to see a few things published online. One of the next poem I'm about to read is called Winter Frontal Lobe, and it's online at the Globe and Mail website. Dark where Dad chops a hole. Tunk. Dark hair blighted by snow bees, his axe trepanning the tarn's top. Beneath what's frozen, slighted bodies blob up from the din, kraken, leviathan, the pail in my hands, a cauterized aluminum stump. Heave ho to make the lake gawp up at us, heave again to plunge the bucket benthic deep. Leave down the glum machine, my arm and pail, rocking horse rig. Winter's everywhere profusion. Huddle over its sink, head congested, festooned with weeds. Mother is nuts. The mind's an organ of slush. A husha. His axe can't cleave this confusion. This next poem is called Mums, Sisters, Daughters, and you'll see a little bit of the bathing metaphor cropping up in it. Mums, sisters, daughters. Navy blue in the hall. 5 and 5 doors, and the blue navy rising under the underslots. 5 and 5 doors framing 10 rooms, each with a woman in bed, each with a woman sleeping, each with a yawning window, each with a lamp doused, across from each a mirror. The navy's loud as wheezing, ah, aha, mountains climb beyond the window. 10 and 10 arms circling pillows, not other bodies in their beds. 10 and 10 hands frigid with sweat. Oceans rhyme beyond the window. Women solo, tucked into themselves. The navy sounds, their breasts on thermals, birds beyond windows. A pug scrubs himself along carpet. Room to room he marks spurts of darkness under each underslot. Women's cheeks, pillow creased, 10 women ferning themselves. Mouths, ah, to navy tongues. Navy blue, thick in the hall as navy grackles clotting. They hoist their wings, gaw and fuffle against each other, thick as piss, flooding under underslots. The doors are slick with their cud and shit. They're tied under underslots. We women now bathing. Off the hall, 5 and 5 doors to 10 rooms, each with a woman in tub. 10 women nailing mosquito bites, scrubbing resin under 10 and 10 feet. We sink into upside down longing, shave navy plumes off mounds, the baths grow cold. We rise. Our bodies rise to face mirrors, 10 and 10. Sorry. Our bodies rise to face mirrors, 5 and 5 mirrors, 20 women facing ourselves. 5 and 5 mirrors now, 20 women facing ourselves. And through the walls, we face each other, and through the walls, our backs to each other. Aha, and in the mirror, 20 women, me. I'm just going to read 2 more. This one is called Evil Brecken, and it was on the Hazlitt website recently. And I've read it a couple of times before, but it's still a little scary to read it. One of the components that I'll get to in a minute with the last poem, which deals specifically with my mom's illness, is the kind of self-hatred and feelings of self-doubt and worthlessness that I was sort of grappling with as a person, but also as a writer. And so the idea of my mother's name and her identity coming up and up and up again throughout the book made me feel very, I guess, like I should do the same with myself and think about how I could even the score or level the playing field for her. So this is supposed to be about my bad side. Evil Brecken. Is what you reckon. Upper lip, brindled, pubes, lichen. Brackish, armpits, thigh thicken, chicken, a wank on the way to other women. Box on a stick, wake of peckers, stupid with bravado, yet brutally forsaken by self. I rut in her blood past the bracelets. Fused sex to sex, pixel to pixel, we sit together, shit together, brandish our teats like handkerchiefs, oink oink, muddle in the bristly bacon of us, wrecking ball vulva, this pathetic smile, these brambly old hands, our sandpaper masturbation. Booze keeps the wounds clean and the brain meaner. Brecken. You're named after a dog. Brecken, you cuckold my time. Brecken, whose cock's in our esophagus? It sickens me to take her in the mirror. That's wrong, I'm not taking her. She's choked me out, bracken to my lesser fern, or I'm the leather chew she's breaking in. Her nightly grinding buckles the crackling cheeks, pouches the jowls, leaves black pudding beneath the eyes. Would you liken her to her daddy? Something a little manly? or to the sag of grandma's hip sack reflection, how I'm aching to dissect the feckless veil of her, shave her face off my face, bride to my suicide. But I'm too bloody vain to maim what's visible above the neckline, and I can't be alone. God damn it, don't go. Don't tell me my self-pity is a bummer. Don't leave. Don't say I'm both the obstacle and the goal. I'm my own heckler. Brecken is what? Freckled? Mulled wine? Bluff? Slope rise? Hillside dip? Declivity? Depravity? To break? To shake a feeling? Mottled? Hot? Hoochie? Declining? How do you know what's to your liking? If you, unsuspecting, met yourself, would you recognize your Jekyll's hidden side, share a glass, dish on childhood neglect, finish each other's pretenses, hook up, break up, bridle the fucker's brio, hack through varicose veins that blacken the calf, breaching cellulite? No, I won't pull myself together. I'm my own distraction. There's a widening gulf between each brazen erection of I, a whole brood of knockoffs infecting me. These phantom pregnancies I'm expecting. Uterus, barbed, tubes, unheimlich, pickled jeans, paretic, pelvis, burr. I need protecting. Hush, my Brecken, lie down with me, lover, lecher, what beckons, your bestie, penetrant, bloodline, heaven. Thank you. That was fun to write. I'm glad someone laughed at one part. It's supposed to be a bit more funny, I think, than sometimes it is. Well, I showed one of my best friends, and she's like, I can't even read that. It's too disturbing. So I'm just going to end with a prose piece, because other than the essay I did for 17 seconds, I haven't really, the book was kind of leading, I guess, to a poem that would culminate in explaining what the story was, like what's exactly going on with this dementia and why was it such a big deal. So I sort of set out as a task to explore that, and this poem is the result, and it'll kind of speak for itself. The only thing I'll say is that the epigraph is from Goethe, and it's from The Sorcerer's Apprentice. And the title of the book, Broom Broom, did not come from The Sorcerer's Apprentice, but I was searching out, I guess, quotations that had broom in it, or ideas that had the word broom in it. And I kept coming back to The Sorcerer's Apprentice when the apprentice makes so many brooms and then he can't get them to be put away again. I felt a little bit like that with this book, like I had sort of opened a can of worms and I couldn't get it back in. So the epigraph is, I forget the word to make a broom once more. Between 1995 and 2013, my mom kept dying and dying and dying. It seemed she'd never finish. Sweep her up, this scarecrow skirt on a stick, hydra. Chop her in 2, in 4, in 40,000, and her pieces won't lie down. Won't die. The timeline is recursive. She was only 40 when her symptoms first presented, and she was treated for menopause, depression, bipolar disorder, and finally, 12 years after we stopped recognizing her personality, and beyond the point when she could understand the diagnosis, we found she had a rare brain condition, and that it was deadening. That Christmas, my dad, brother, and I spent our holiday in the psychiatric ward. Mom still smoked back then, and we would accompany her onto a 6x6 outdoor patio, an inescapable concrete pad enclosed with a chain link ceiling. It was minus 30 degrees Celsius, and we huddled out there in the darkness. Were we still a family of 4? Mom would stand in her pajamas and green knee-length insulated coat, puffing without remembering how to inhale. Hair forcibly washed, stringy, scraggly broom straw. Face, wet bread white. Disconnected from language, from subjectivity, she still ached for home. She forgot her name, forgot her pronoun, adopted the neuter it. It asks my brother over and over to break it out. Take it. Take it to where you have your life. Before the disease rendered it completely dumb, it was abusive. Exiling me from home, it forbade me from visiting and told me repeatedly that it hated me. It chased my dad with a knife and would sometimes turn on the car in the garage and make him watch while it knelt at the tailpipe, purposely sucking in exhaust. Here's not so much an assortment of ghosts as one ghost in many iterations. You need 40 sets of eyes to see her. In her coffin, a girl. In her coffin, a crone. In her coffin, a new purple dress and a white scarf. In her coffin, stillness, halted weather, a nest of silkworm chewings. In her coffin, claws. In her coffin, I said claws. After his mother's funeral, Roland Barth began a mourning diary, scraps of thought collected on loose post-it-sized squares, intending to turn them into a book. He was hit by a laundry van and succumbed to chest injuries before he could refine the manuscript, but the jot notes have been published. His initial entry reads, "First wedding night, but first mourning night." I've always intended to write a response to Barth's mourning diary, but I'm stuck on that first page. First must contain a beginning, but this year my mother died for the 40,000th time, and I married for the second. I learn, it seems, through repetition, marriage, mourning. Having never married, Barth speaks of weddings in the abstract. His mother was the intimate woman in his life, and he categorizes the end of their relationship, her death, as an inversion of sexual union. I understand this conflation of the maternal with the erotic. My mother's madness has occupied a space in my self-hatred next to a chain of failed love affairs. I often thought of our estrangement as a breakup. In English, we have only one word for love. Likewise, synonyms for loss fall away. I've inherited my mother's decayed vocabulary. I tried lying in bed for a year. I tried cutting myself open. I tried swimming during riptide in the Bay of Fundy. I tried a man who threw rocks at me. I tried poverty. Mother, I wish we were dead together. Take me to where you have your death. I love my husband. We made a suicide pact. No suicide. When his mother dies, Barth begins to mourn. Her passing represents both the commencement and the consummation of his grief. Stretching back almost 20 years, there's no inaugural evening, no christening for the loss of her. What time was she traveling through those last mute years? The sludge smudging the rug black, the mollusks grunge, her bare feet trudged, the trail dug between where she drugged herself and where she slept. I don't want prettified versions of dementia. The vomitous stench of permanent hospitalization, the distorted facial features caused by brain decay, the zombification, the shit smeared on the walls. I can't match these with trite movie versions of losing a forgetful, radiant loved one. Gina Rowlands, all silver in a wheelchair. By the time Mom died, her limbs were willow thin, skewed unnaturally under blankets, guppy lips, amoeba face, and the violations of vibrating seizure. The mind within her mind, a small doll in the corner of a dark room. I thought I had reconciled my anger, but her cremated remains, the ceramic, tear-shaped urn, stirred up a lake effect of emotions. Snow pilots blinded by ash. We cannot say, now for the first time her life is over. Now, this first night, we will begin to mourn. I married my second husband 6 months after the death of my 40,000th mother. There is no first. There's no crime in this kind of death. It's genes or a fatal confluence of timelines. It's just unlucky. But Joan Didion expresses the guilt that seems always to accompany loss. If the dead were to truly come back, what would they come back knowing? Could we face them, we who allowed them to die? The clear light of day tells me that I did not allow John to die, that I did not have that power. But do I believe that? Does he? I haven't kept up with current theories about time, but I don't give a fuck if time is sinuous, simultaneous, infinite. I know only one way forward. She's dead. I confess, her abuse was the cruelest thing I've endured. Losing her, particularly an imagined healthy version of her, the most devastating. She hated me, I confess. She loved me. I'm criminal for defiling her name. This poem isn't making me feel better. It's no time travel. Mother, I'm the witch you raised, raising myself up without you. I tried to tidy you up, but I'll never be done. The 40,000 brooms have overrun. I forget the word to make Sandy a monster no more. One night she asks my dad, "Why don't you have a nickname for me? Is there something you'd particularly like?" I want to be called Magic. Thanks.